Right, hey guys, welcome back. Another problem with the bike today. I've had 3 problems in a month now. It's a bit annoying, but so yeah, we had the chain snap, the sprocket carrier bearing in there go, and now it looks like my power valve cable or my power valve blade has snapped. So a lot of you have requested how to clean the power valve and take it out and whatever. So I guess I'm going to show you now because I'm about to take mine out. So I noticed I was riding. And it went flat at about 9,000 RPM. So I was like, tested it a few times, still was flat. So I thought, yeah, probably a power valve fault. So I came back and I went and watched the Formula 1 race, which Mercedes have now won the Constructors' Championship. We got first, second, third, fourth, and fifth in that race, which for Mercedes-powered cars, which is absolutely insane. So well done to them. Monday and tomorrow at work's going to be pretty good, I'd imagine. Doubt we'll be doing much other than drinking. So yeah, anyway, I've taken my tank off, seat off, and that's it. So if you don't know how to do any of those things, then sell your bike, because if you've got an Aprilia and you don't know how to take the fuel tank off, you're never going to get anywhere. So I've just taken the tank off and taken the battery out. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but the power valve down there, you can see the cable isn't connected. The camera's probably not going to pick that up, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. I'm just going to get some gloves on because I hate getting my hands dirty. Right, so while they were here, I very quickly just sort of cleaned the top of the head cover and the power valve housing. What's happened is, let me just turn this radio down. What's happened is the power valve cable has pulled through the top of the blade, so you can see the cable here. And if I move the solenoid with my hand, you can see the I don't know if you can actually see it, but the cable is moving up and down without pulling the blade up. So I'm going to go ahead and take the power valve blade out and give it a bit of an inspection to see why it's done that. It could just be that it's worn in the top of it. It could be that it's snapped. Don't 100% know yet, but I guess we'll find out. Why did I pick up a 6mm? I know it's a 5. So to take the power valve housing out, you need a 5mm Allen key, and there's 2 bolts either side of the housing that need to come out. Not particularly hard to get at. Once you take the battery cover off and move the coolant tank out of the way, it's pretty straightforward. Some people say remove this side fairing. Honestly, it's not worth the effort. Just do it this way. It's a lot faster and you've got more access to it. So, and they're not very tight in there. They don't have to be torqued down too much. So, you can normally give it 1 or 2 turns with the ratchet and then finger the rest out. So they're the 2 bolts there. If this is the first time, you keep them somewhere where but I've done this so many times, I just throw them on the floor because. Right, so here is the power valve cable. Now it looks like the cable is still intact. The end of it's still on there. A very common thing is that the end. Where the hell's the cable gone? I've just dropped it. Oh, there it is. A very common thing is that this end nipple here gets pulled off, but that hasn't happened in this. So I'm going to take the housing off here, and then the spring, and it looks like the shaft and everything is still attached. Okay, so this is pulling out very easily. So that's just come out very easily out of there. And all that looks like's happened is that the top of this is worn. It wasn't stuck in there at all, it just slipped straight out. Normally it's a bit stuck. If it is stuck, then what you can do, I was hoping it would be a bit stuck to be honest, is use something like this. This is like a penetrating oil, squirt it around it, leave it for a bit and get some pliers on the end of there and wiggle it out. Or you can heat it up at the barrel or something and try and get it out that way. So yeah, looks like I'm going to probably need a new power valve blade. I'm going to have to order one of them. If you buy a new Powervalve blade, always get the more expensive Moto RRT one, because it's just way better. And yeah, it looks like it's just worn, because look, that's stuck in there now, but it won't pull it out all the way because it's... So yeah, that's just a worn Powervalve. You can see where it's pushed the metal out. It's a bit of a shame really, because it's, you know, it's still in pretty good condition really. All this carbon will clean off pretty easily. It's just a bit of a shame that's worn. It's about 70 quid for a new one of them. So I'm going to put all this back together now. I will clean this just so it's easier to get out next time. And put it back in, and I'm going to have to ride around with my Powervalve fully closed shut. But it doesn't matter, because it means at least I can still ride my bike, and I'd prefer it being fully closed shut than fully open, because it's just not very fun riding with an open Powervalve. You've got no power whatsoever at low RPMs, which when you live in a town full of traffic lights is not very fun, and it means that you have to clutch it everywhere you go, and the clutch on these bikes isn't very good, so you don't want to be putting extra stress on it. So yeah, I normally just clean this with a wire wheel's the best really, but since I haven't got one, a wire brush will do. Normally this is really massive advantages, because I use power again, because if you want to clean the next time comes, it'll be easy out of the it's fully shut, it's open, the carbon's still around it, it's going to be clean out, it feels like clean out, so it's stuck properly, so it's actually clean it, it's like it's clean out, it's not free stuff up. So I don't have most of the luck really, in the last sort of few weeks of my life. You know, these things you can't do sort of 20 minutes to stop these things happening. Especially this, I mean, they do last so much time, this one has 6 months. But we were very slow to change them a while ago, and changed them a while ago, so I think it's late. It's all catch up with me. So you can get some really nice shiny, you know, why we want to run it, why we want it, is really the best way to go about it. Yeah, that'll probably do. If you're using your Powervalve and you're cleaning it, make sure you get pretty much all of it off. Okay, so you shouldn't really reuse a gasket, but on the Powervalve I think you could probably get away with using this gasket a few times if it's good condition. I will order another one when I order my blade, but for the time being I will reuse this one, because I'm going to get a new one. But you don't need to really get a new gasket every time you clean your Powervalve. I'd probably say every, I don't know, if it starts leaking obviously change it, but I would change it sort of every 5 to 10 Powervalve cleaning sessions, depending on the condition of it, because it is common that they can leak from there. Same with this O-ring in here, and same with the seal on the shaft, which I will order all new ones of. The shaft, this seal here isn't too old. The O-ring in there I think is probably about 5 months old. Not really the best spraying an O-ring with brake cleaner, but I can't be bothered to get it out to clean it, so I'm going to order all new ones anyway. Okay, so the way this goes back together, you've got your housing here, there's an O-ring inside of there. If that's fell out, you need to just push that back in. Then you have your spring, which just goes on the shaft there, and there's a seal which goes on the shaft, which I have seen someone put it that way. If you put it that way, it will get stuck on the inside ring there and get smashed up. So you need to make sure it's that way round. You know, it just sits on the bottom there. Then your spring goes on top of the shaft, and then the Powervalve goes inside the housing like that. But you need to put your gasket on. So you have it goes like that really. It doesn't matter which way the housing is facing, whether you have the housing facing like this, whether you have the housing facing like this, but what does matter is which way the blade goes. So I normally have my housing facing like this, just so that when I take the tank off I can see my Powervalve cable, if it's snapped like it was today, and I can see it moving and stuff if I've got my tank off. I'm running an auxiliary tank or something to make sure it's still working. I can see it moving up and down there. I would recommend always running the Powervalve opposite to that, so you don't want the two holes lining up like that. If you're having it with this facing up, you have this facing down. If you have that facing down, you have that facing down. Okay, so you don't want that. You don't want that to be like that, or that to be like that, like that. You don't. This half moon chamfer here, that always has to be facing down towards the exhaust. So it goes in like that, and the flat side, the complete flat side of it, is facing up in the air, and the chamfer half moon is facing downwards. So you want to just kind of hold it all together, really. Maybe give the area a bit of a clean, just to make sure that the gasket sort of mates with the thing without any sort of shrapnel in the way. You just really want to position it in. Obviously, if you're connecting your cable as well, you want to do it sort of out here. So if I was connecting my cable, which I'm obviously not because my thing's snapped, you turn the blade over so it's facing the wrong way. You push it in, see the slots here, you get your cable, you hook it up, you put it on there, you'll have your cable, and then you spin the blade back round while it's attached to the cable, so the chamfer's facing the bottom. And then you just kind of hold it all together, really, and put it back in, making sure the chamfer is facing downwards. That's really the most important part of it, is to make sure that chamfer is facing the floor. And then you can just sort of slide it back in, make sure your gasket is lined up, and then you want to put your bolts back in. It's a bit fiddly to do, so I can normally start it with just a bit of the Allen key with my fingers, because as I said, they don't really need to be torqued up too tight, so you can almost do it finger tight and then just nip them up with the ratchet at the end. Okay, so they're finger tight now. Just want to get the ratchet in there and just sort of just nip it up ever so slightly. It doesn't need much. Okay, so there's my power valve back in there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to ride my bike. Well, I will be able to ride it, but not have the power valve working makes the bike more of a chore to ride than enjoyment. But whatever, at least I can still use it as transport, I suppose. It's still quite fun to ride. It just means that you don't have that power above 8,000 RPM. It feels a bit flat after that. So yeah, I'm going to stick my cable just back in there just so I know where it is. And then basically when my blade arrives, it's just a swap. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching. And that's the way I used to get my bearings out, because I didn't have the heat gun, but I thought it's just a lot easier if you use the heat gun. I can use it for a lot more applications, and I've always wanted one, so I bought one anyway. So let's give that a go. It's pretty weird. Just want to make